So I think that's just kind of been the time for me to like really find some patience, and I've never been a patient person my entire life, so this has definitely tested me a little bit.
They say patience is a virtue, and for Caitlin Clark and Fever fans everywhere, that patience is about to pay off. She just dropped a major update on her injury, and let's just say the comeback is near. Now, when I say patience is about to pay off, this isn't just about Caitlin suiting back up and jogging onto the court with a half-hearted welcome back graphic on the Jumbotron. Turns out the Chicago Sky spell about as well as they play. Okay, back to Caitlin Clark's comeback. It's going to be way bigger than people think, because everything that happened while she was out, it changed everything. For her, for the Fever, and for the entire WNBA. And then there's the wild part. The mystery around how she even got injured in the first place is stirring up some serious conspiracies. And honestly, I hope they're true, because if they are, we're about to get a much more dangerous version of Caitlin Clark. Between what she told the media, the tone shift from the Fever, and the chaos in the league while she's been gone, the stage is officially set for a monster comeback. Records are about to fall and narratives are already shattering. Let's break it all down. But first, like this video if you think Caitlin's return will set a ratings record, and subscribe for more Fever updates. First, let's quickly rewind a few weeks.
Obviously, this game is peaking at 3.2 million viewers is crazy for the WNBA, even for the Fever. So this year's peaks are already freaking higher than last year's peaks when this team was starting to do a bit well.
Before Caitlin left with a strained quad, she was doing what she does best, dropping highlights and breaking records.
Possessions for New York. Clark, step back three. Oh, she hit it and draws the foul. Welcome back.
The Fever's matchup against the Liberty peaked at nearly 3.3 million viewers. That came on the heels of the opener against the Sky, which averaged 2.7 million viewers, the most watched WNBA regular season game since 2000. In other words, the Caitlin Clark effect was alive and well. And the wildest part? The Fever weren't exactly lighting it up.
1 second left. Clark doesn't get the shot off. Cloud locks her up. And New York comes into Indianapolis and takes the checkered flag.
They were sitting at 2-2, and sure, the blowout win against the Sky made it look like they were about to steamroll the league. But looking back, that win said more about the Sky being a dumpster fire than the Fever being ready to take over. The offense looked disjointed, and they were clearly still figuring it out. And Caitlin? She was productive, dangerous, still pulling off highlights, but anyone paying attention could tell she wasn't quite right. The lift wasn't there. The explosiveness was dulled. We'll come back to that in a minute because it matters for what happens next. So when the news broke that she'd be out at least 2 weeks and 4 games minimum, fans were obviously concerned. But at the same time, there was this quiet confidence. We've got this. The new vets will hold down the fort. Well, that faith was put to the test fast.
I think this was a kind of gut punch for us. We're going to come back tomorrow at practice, more focused, more energy. We know we want to be at the end of the season, but we're not just going to get there. You know, sometimes it sucks and it's a grind, and that's where we're at right now. But I do think short-term and long-term, it's going to make us better.
This was Sophie Cunningham after their loss to the Mystics, the team's first game without Caitlin Clark. And it's important to remember what she said because, looking back, she was onto something. But if fans were hoping for a quick turnaround, they didn't get it. After the Mystics' loss, things went from bad to worse.
Inbound to Mitchell, who nearly lost it, retreats, gets up a really tough shot, and Connecticut survives.
Their loss to the Sun, a team that started the season 0-5, was humbling and made fans and analysts question everything. And just when you thought it couldn't get any uglier, it did. In that same game, the Fever lost Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson to injury. Both of Caitlin Clark's backups, gone. Just like that. Suddenly, the depth chart wasn't just thin, it was shredded. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because sometimes when 2 doors slam shut, another one swings wide open. And this one brought in a massive breath of fresh, airy.
Fever now on an 11-2 advantage. Miscommunication and stolen by McDonald, who races to the other end and finishes.
Arie McDonald, the hardship signing nobody saw coming, stepped in and instantly changed the vibe. She brought the energy, she brought the pace, and most importantly, she ignited the offense. She became a spark plug, a fan favorite, and now a whole lot of people are saying she shouldn't just be a temporary fix. She should be part of this team's future.
And if there's one thing that is a certainty for the Indiana Fever, it's that hold on to Aerie McDonald at all costs.
The Fever started to find their way. First, they got revenge on the Mystics, flipping the script from that earlier loss. And then came the big one. The highly anticipated rematch against the Chicago Sky in front of a crowd of nearly 20,000 fans. And the Fever delivered a statement. They didn't just win, they obliterated them.
And the Indiana Fever has beaten the Chicago Sky by a combined 62 points in 2 games.
Now sure, beating the Sky is basically breathing at this point. But this one was different. Because the Fever did it without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, and without their head coach, Stephanie White. And even though it wasn't their cleanest game, it was still an absolute drubbing. And that's what should scare the rest of the WNBA. Because the Fever just proved something dangerous. They've learned how to win without Caitlin.
Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
Kelsey Mitchell has snapped out of her early season slump and is starting to look like her old self again. Aaliyah Boston continues to be a dominant force. Lexi Hull is straight up lethal from 3 and making a real case for most improved player, maybe even borderline all-star territory. There's a lot to like. And for these reasons alone, the Fever are going to be better when Caitlin returns. Better than they would have been had she never missed time. This alone should have Fever fans fired up. But if you're a Caitlin Clark fan, there's something else. This injury didn't just give the team a chance to grow. It made her value impossible to ignore. Her importance to the league has never been clearer. Let's start here.
The cheapest ticket for the June 7th showdown is $14, according to Vivid Seats. Oh, there's some even less expensive than that.
First, the game against the Sky officially ended the "they're there to watch me too" narrative. Just before tip-off, tickets were going for as little as $3. It was literally more expensive to grab a small popcorn to watch the Sky fall than to get in. And here's the kicker. Their rematch just a few weeks later, ticket demand is already surging again.
The cheapest ticket for that game next month is currently at $82, according to Vivid Seats. It gets much worse. Therefore, there's currently an 83% drop between the 2 games.
And look, I'll spare Angel Reese by not diving too deep into the fact that she only scored 4 more points than you, me, and my blender combined.
Next question.
But let's be real. That performance officially ended the rivalry. Under the biggest spotlight, in front of the biggest crowd. The league just watched one of its most heavily promoted young stars deliver one of the most embarrassing performances of the season. And nobody's buying the media spin anymore.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, the most coddled basketball player in history. She is the 43rd best player in the WNBA. She is, and that is being the most generous I can be coming into this season.
But fam, don't you dare exclude Angel Reese out of that. That is favoritism. Don't show that, man. You need to call Angel Reese out the same way you are willing to call everybody else out.
All of this has made one thing undeniably clear. Angel Reese is not the one moving the needle. This is Caitlin Clark's league. And when Caitlin returns and the ratings skyrocket again, the debate ends. It's over. And maybe, just maybe, the WNBA will finally realize that it's time to promote and protect its biggest star. Speaking of her return and those record-breaking... Here's what she said.
Is this an injury that happened during a game or anything, or is it just something that was lingering that popped up? Or?
It happened in the Liberty game, yeah.
Were you able to pinpoint the time in the Liberty game that happened, or you just...
No, definitely early in the game, but I couldn't tell you the exact play something occurred on. And
Caitlin said she doesn't remember exactly when the injury happened, but not everyone's buying that. There's growing speculation that this wasn't some sudden freak injury, but something she's been quietly playing through for weeks. Something that's been building. Something she tried to push through, until she finally couldn't.
Happened in the Liberty game, yeah, I don't believe that. She looked 60% in the Liberty game. She looked no better against the Atlanta Dream. And there's no way it happened in the Liberty game. Unless, like, she looked so much better in the second half of the Liberty game as well. And I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
First of all, that theory actually says something really good about Caitlin, and I'll get to that in a second. But let's be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little liability management happening behind the scenes. Because if this wasn't a random in-game injury, if it was something the team knew about, and she kept playing through it, that opens up a whole different conversation.
If things just go as they were, and we have expanded season of 22 home games with modest inflation, I'm looking at $875 million.
Think about it. Caitlin Clark is quite literally worth $1 billion to the league this year. If the Fever knew she was playing through an injury and let her keep going, game after game, only for her to go down, that's not just a bad look. That's a potential PR nightmare. I'm not a lawyer, but when you consider Caitlin's competitive fire, the fact that she hasn't quite looked 100% all season, and just how much is riding on her success, it makes sense.
She hasn't looked really right all year. Like, the Sky game was the Sky game. They destroyed the Sky. Sky were terrible. But outside the Sky game, she hasn't looked right at all. She didn't look right in preseason. She hasn't looked right at all this year.
It's not a wild conspiracy. It's just basic damage control. And if that's what's really happening here, you can understand why they'd keep things vague. Now here's the good news. And honestly, this is why I kind of hope the theory is true. Because if Caitlin has been quietly playing through an injury these first few games, and now she's finally taken a step back to heal, we might be about to see the best version of her yet. Think about it. She wasn't at 100%, and she was still putting up solid numbers. So just imagine what happens when she's fully healthy. And here's another clue that supports the theory. Another reason to believe she may have been playing through pain this whole time.
I think at times the hardest part is like just not being able to be involved in practice. Like, I love practice. Not a ton of people always enjoy like coming to practice every single day, but that's something I like really enjoy. Like, I really enjoy coming out here and like competing every single day with my teammates. Like, that's probably honestly what I miss most. Obviously I miss the games. That goes for anybody that's ever hurt, but like, I love practice. I love getting better.
And that right there, you can't teach it. Caitlin's got that fire. She lives for the grind, the reps, the film, the extra work, constant improvement, always learning, always lifting up her teammates. And yeah, it's killing her to be on the sidelines. But even now, while she's out, she's still finding ways to contribute, to grow, to lead, to push this team forward. And during the presser, she gave us a glimpse, a look at how she's still impacting the game, even from the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a unique perspective, you know, when you're out there playing and actually in the heat of the moment, you don't always realize everything, you don't always see everything, you see things from a different perspective that maybe the coaching staff didn't see. So it's certainly different. So I'm trying to, you know, kind of be that connector between the coaches and then my teammates at the same time, whether, you know, that's in the locker room at halftime, whether that's during timeouts of, you know, things I see from the bench that maybe might be a little bit different of a perspective than maybe our point guard is seeing or, you know, anybody on the floor is seeing.
She's always been a student of the game. That's nothing new. But honestly, this time on the sidelines might be giving her something she's never had before, a coach's perspective. And it's showing. It's turning her into an even better leader. She's not just sitting there passively. That's not in her DNA. She's locked in, breaking down plays like a coach, staying vocal, keeping teammates engaged, and learning in real time. And finally, the question everyone was waiting for, the one hanging over every Fever fan, every headline, every broadcast. When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Now, here's the great news.
After that, it's, you know, day by day and see how I feel and just kind of turn to the medical staff and what they think. But I feel like I've made a lot of progress and I feel good and, you know, not going to rush coming back. It's just not worth it.
If you're a Caitlin Clark or Fever fan, this is exactly what you want to hear. She's feeling really good. And more importantly, she's not rushing things. Because this isn't just about one game, it's about the season. And maybe even more than that. If anything, the reason she's in this situation to begin with might be because she played through the pain. That's just who she is, a competitor to her core. Now, by the time this video goes live, she may have already returned against the Dream. Personally, I don't think that's likely. The Fever are winning without her. The season is still young. And if she sits out, she'll get a full extra week of rest. But hey, I'm not her doctor. Let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong. But no matter when you're watching this, one thing is certain. When Caitlin Clark returns, game of the season. She was already breaking viewership records before she sat out. And honestly, I don't think we've seen anything yet. Because this brief absence created something powerful. Contrast. The difference between the league with Caitlin and without her is now crystal clear. The Fever were forced to find their identity and learn to win without her. And that kind of adversity, especially early in the season, is exactly when you want it. Now, Caitlin at full strength, with a more cohesive, confident team around her, is positioned to do what everyone hoped from the start: turn this team into a legitimate championship contender. It's amazing what a little time away and a little patience can lead to. If you're still here, drop a trophy emoji in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.